Okay, all right. Shalom. Shalom. We get started for study today. We're looking at Numbers, looking at Bamidbar, chapter 2. And we also will look at Luke 15. Just see, not the whole chapter, just first 10 verses of Luke 15. All right, so we can start it off by Numbers 2 at the top. Reading, Numbers 2. Okay, right. Yeah.
All right. Numbers chapter 2, starting in verse 1. And Yahweh spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, every man of the children of Israel shall pitch by his own standard with the ensign of their father's house. Far off about the tabernacle of the congregation shall they pitch. And on the east side towards the rising of the sun, so shall they of the standard of the camp of Judah pitch throughout their armies. And Nahshon and the son of Aminadab shall be captain of the children of Judah and his hosts. And those that were numbered of them were 314,600. And those that do pitch next unto him shall be the tribe of Issachar. And Nathaniel, the son of Zor, shall be captain of the children of Issachar and his hosts. And those that were numbered thereof were 54,400. Then the tribe of Zebulun and Elad, the son of Helon, shall be captain of the children of Zebulun and his hosts. And those that were numbered thereof were 57,400. All that were numbered in the camp of Judah were 100,000 and 4,000 and 6,400. Throughout their armies, these shall first set forth. On the south side shall be the standard of the camp of Reuben, according to their armies, and the captain of the children of Reuben shall be Eliezer, son of Shindor. How you say it? Shidor? Yeah, all right. And his hosts, and those that were numbered thereof were 46,500. And those which pitch by him shall be the tribe of Simeon, and the captain of the children of Simeon shall be Shelomiel, son of Zorishadadi. And his hosts, and those that were numbered of them were 59,300. Then the tribe of Gad, the captain of the sons of Gad, shall be Elisaph, the son of Reuel, and his hosts, and those that were numbered of them were 45,650. All that were numbered in the camp of Reuben were 100,050 and 1,450 throughout their armies, and they shall set forth in the second rank. Then the tabernacle of the congregation shall set forth with the camp of the Levites in the midst of the camp. As they encamp, so shall they set forward, every man in his place by their standards. On the west side of the standard of the camp of Ephraim, according to their armies, And the captain of the sons of Ephraim shall be Elishama, and the son of Amihud, Amihud, and his son, and those that were numbered of them were 40,500. And by him shall be the tribe of Manasseh, and the captain children of Manasseh shall be Gamaliel, the son of Pedahazar, and his hosts, and those that were numbered of them were 32,200. And the tribe of Benjamin, and the captain of the sons of Benjamin shall be Abinad, and the son of Gideoni, and his hosts, and those that were numbered of them were 5,400. All that were numbered of the camp of Ephraim were 100,000 and 8,000 and 100 throughout their armies, and they shall go forth in the third rank. The standard of the camp of Dan shall be on the north side by their armies, and the captain of the children of Dan shall be Eliezer the son of Amishidadi, and his hosts, and those that were numbered of them were 62,700. And those that were encamped by him shall be the tribe of Asher, and the captain of the children of Asher shall be Pagiel, son of Akron, and his hosts, and those that were numbered of him were 41,500. And the tribe of Naphtali, the captain of the children of Naphtali shall be Ahira, and the son of Enan, and his hosts, and those that were numbered of them were 53,400. All they that were numbered in the camp of Dan were 100,000 and 50 and 7,600. They shall go hide most of their standards. These are those which were numbered of the children of Israel by the house of their fathers. All those were numbered of the camps throughout the hosts were 600,000 and 3,550. But the Levites were not numbered among the children of Israel, as Yahweh commanded Moses. And the children of Israel did according to all that Yahweh commanded Moses. So they pitched by their standards. So they set forth everyone after their families according to the house of their fathers.
Okay. Okay, so we have here a description of the camping of Israel, how Israel camped, how they were organized, how they were divided up. If we look back at verse 2, where it says the sons of Israel shall camp, each by his own standards, with the banners of their father's households. Let's see, King James says, every man, the children of Israel shall pitch by his own standard with the ensign. That word standard, that's translated as standard in the King James, is Diglo. Yes, that does sound like that. Gel, which means a flag or a banner or a standard. So each family, each tribe had its own flag. They had a flag that represented a particular family. And then we have this other word that's translated as banner or ensign, which really it's the same. It can have the same meaning. The gel and oat is translated as ensign. Some places have banner or flag. So looking at it, it could say each shall pitch by his own flag with the flag of his father's house. Right? It's giving you a different word that has kind of the same meaning. But I think the ensign, the oat sign, is kind of dealing with the more of the symbol, I would say, of the flag. So you have the general word, the degel, which is this flag or this banner. And then there's kind of like a sign or a signal or a mark or a token that's on the flag. So what actually, like we have, here in America, we have the 50 stars and the 13 stripes, right? So that would be the ensign. That would be the oat, the actual symbol that's on the flag. So with them, each family had a symbol that was on the flag. So they was having those to be brought forth. Now you have different ones will say, well, when you look at how they're, because it kind of gives a description how they have 3 on the east side, 3 on the west side, 3 on the north side, and 3 on the south side, and the Levites in the center. You have some commentators that will say that there was actually kind of 4 main flags that represented the each directions or the lead tribes of the ones that they mentioned first. Like for instance, for the east, they mentioned Judah first, right? So eastward, if you look eastward from the tabernacle, you would see Judah's flag. And then if you looked, and then with Judah, right, was Issachar and Zebulun. So they may have had their own flags, but I'm saying looking from the tabernacle outwards, you would see Judah, because the other camps would be behind, or not as prominent towards the tabernacle, Issachar and Zebulun. And then towards the south, you would see Reuben's flag. Even though they was with Simeon and Gad, Reuben is the flag that you would see from the tabernacle outwards. This is just what they, this is what they say. And so for west was Ephraim, Manasseh, and Benjamin, and north was Dan, Asher, and Naphtali. Now, as to what these flags actually look like, there's not really concrete evidence to say what they, what they actually were. It's thought by the because the only real written down evidence that there is comes from the oral traditions, which they could be, they could be correct, but they can't sit there and say this is what they literally were, like the Judah was literally a lion. Even though there's a connection where it seems like it could be that, where it talks about the other ones. So I didn't really spend too much time looking at those because it wasn't like I could sit up there and say definitively these are the, what they are, or Reuben being an eagle, or Dan being a serpent, or Benjamin being a bull. Like, it could have been that, but you don't really know for sure. Same thing with the when we think about the Levi's, the high priest's breastplate, where they had all of the stones in it. We don't know for sure which actual colors correspond with which. We know that each stone was representative of a tribe. But you can't say, well, Simeon's green, and Levi's, Judah's yellow. You know what I mean? You don't know for sure. But they have their thoughts on the matter, I guess. So if you looked at it, if you had we said this was the tabernacle, then you had Levi was kind of around the camp. It says he wasn't numbered, but that just means they're not telling you how many people was there. But they was, it wasn't like they wasn't there. You know what I mean? And then east, whichever direction you say east was, the picture I got looks like this, I think. So wait, so they got Judah on the bottom. I don't even know how that is if that's east. If east is on the bottom, this is east. It is north.
So left. No, maybe the right.
Yeah, to the right.
To the right.
It's gonna be north.
If this is north, you saying this is east. Oh yeah, that is.
No.
So who we got over here? It's Judah.
Judah, that's the car.
Judah, that's the car. Zebulun.
Yeah.
Then on the north side, you got Dan, Asher, and Naphtali. Then on the south side, you got Reuben, Simeon, and Gad. Simeon. Yeah. Then on the west side, you got Benjamin. Benjamin, Manasseh. Good. So as they camped, they look like that. Basically. All round about the tabernacle, which was in the middle. So wherever they went and traveled all throughout the wilderness, they was kind of
They had their
had
place
their,
settings.
their assigned
Formation.
yeah.
Yeah. That's a good word for it. I said place settings. It's like on a table, but yeah. Formations is a better word.
And then I was just looking at this, I just noticed that kind of Joseph was just not Joseph, but Rachel, I guess. Her
They're
they
segregated.
was all together.
They had some segregation.
And the rest is in a mix, though, right? The rest is in a mix.
So the favorite wife's tribes are all together.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
I don't know all the mixings, but I know that Reuben and Simeon and Judah all come from Leah. So they've been separated. But I just make it seem like they all were separated.
Yeah.
So, looking at that, we can see kind of a picture of what they did. As it goes forward, they set out after each grouping. So they were set up like these. They tell you how they were grouped, and then they also tell you how they moved. Also, they tell you which one was set on the east, west, north, and south, and then they also tell you, if you look in verse 9, where it says the total numbering of the camp of Judah. Oh, again, they name the numbering of the camp to the east, the camp of Judah. Although we have Zebulun and Issachar there, right? But they say they set out first. So in terms of moving, Judah moves in the front first. And then as you go down, the verse 16, the total number of men of camp Reuben, by their armies, they set out second. Then the tent of meeting shall set out with the camp of the Levites in the midst of the camps. So in terms of moving, you have Judah going first, Reuben going second, and then the Levites falling behind in the midst, and then the other two tribes, Dan and Benjamin, following behind them. So in terms of there's always in the movement of them, whether they're moving or whether they're stationary, you have in the midst of them the tabernacle, the place where Yahweh dwelled in the midst. It gives you that picturing of where Yahweh is. He's in the midst, literally, of his people, right? So we're able to see a little picture of that as we look at this chapter. Again, we look at this chapter as just basically giving you these logistics of again the camping and the movings of the people. So it's not really much there, unless there's any questions or comments about Numbers chapter 2, we can go look over at Luke.
I mean, other than talking about how there's like a buffer between the tent of meeting and the people with the Levites being there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when you look at
How it's set up.
when you look at it, how it's set up, yeah, I guess when you can think about the idea of when you look at Israel as a whole, and you think about a man, when you think about the Ruach, right, is that kind of inner unctioning that you can't see, right? John talks about right, it's like the wind, right? You can't see the wind, but you can feel it, right? That's what it talks about in John chapter 3, right? Verse 8. The wind blows where it wills, and now here's the sound thereof, but canst not tell whence it comes and where it goes. Everyone that's born of the Spirit. The Spirit, the Ruach, of course, is that Ruach means breath, it means wind, it means spirit. So when we think about the idea of the Spirit, this thing, this force that moves and directs, it's an internal thing, right? So we look at the Israel as they camped where the tabernacle was, where the mercy seat was, where the presence of Yahweh was, where this the hub of holiness, where the hub of holiness was in the center, right? It was in the middle, and then you had the priests round about, and then you get out to the people. I talked about this before when you deal with the idea of Israel being a nation of priests, where they had the Most High dealing with them, in their center, in the midst of them. They had the Levites who would kind of, that the people was able to look to for righteousness. They wanted to know what, righteousness was, and you wanted to have something explained, right? It's coming from the Levites. But in terms of in location, if they're in a place and you have these surrounding areas, just kind of looking at it, you're not gonna have, it's written, it's we put it like this, but it kind of it's not as if there's gaps in here where like there's other people that wasn't Israel that was like in these holes. Right. So looking at it, you dealing with the outer layers, where the people was, and then there's more, the other people was out here. So holiness, I'm saying, kind of in the picture, is from inside out. Inside out. Just like when we think about, a human being, it comes from that inner unction, that inner desiring, that inner push or pull that's causing us to do, righteousness. It comes from that inner, that inside first. So it's the same thing to look at Israel, where we have, the tabernacle in the center, which, kind of was this, it was the center of their living. They would always come and bring up their sacrifices and everything, in the center, no matter how far out as far as their camps were. They always had to come back to the center, to that hub of holiness. I just coined that phrase, the hub of holiness. For sacrifices. Yeah. Okay, so that being said, look over at Luke. Made deep revelations of the campings and movings of Israel. I said not made deep revelations on the campings and movings of Israel today.
That's pretty straightforward.
Okay, so let's look at Luke 15. Actually, we could probably look at the whole chapter, Luke. And I guess at the end of the day, it's really one theme throughout the whole chapter, the whole 3 different ways.
Okay. Luke chapter 15. Then drew near unto him all the publicans and sinners for to him. And the Pharisees and the scribes murmured, saying, This man receiveth sinners and eateth with them. And he spake this parable unto them, saying, What man of you, having 100 sheep, if he loses one of them, doeth not leave the 99 in the wilderness and go after which is lost until he find it? And when he hath found it, he layeth it on his shoulders, rejoicing. And when he cometh home, he calleth together his friends and his neighbors, saying unto them, Rejoice with me, for I have found my sheep which was lost. I say unto you, that likewise joy shall be in heaven over one sinner that repenteth, more than over 99 just persons which need no repentance. Either what woman having 10 pieces of silver, if she loses one piece, doeth not light a candle and sweep the house and seek diligently till she find it. And when she hath found it, she calleth her friends and her neighbors together, saying, Rejoice with me, for I have found the piece which I had lost. Likewise, I say unto you, there is a joy in the presence of the angels of Yahweh over one sinner that repenteth. And he said, A certain man had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falleth to me. And he divided unto them his living. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. And when he had spent all, there arose a mighty famine in the land, and he began to be in want. And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and sent him into the fields to feed swine. And he would fain have filled his belly with the husk of the swine, did eat, and no man gave unto him. And when he came to himself, he said, How many hired servants of my fathers have bread enough and to spare, and I perish with hunger, I will arise and go to my father, and will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before thee, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired servants. And he arose and came to his father. But when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion, and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. And the son said unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven, and in the sight I am no more worthy to be called your son. But the father said unto his servants, Bring forth the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand, and shoes on his feet, and bring hither the fatted calf, and kill it, and let us eat and be merry. For this is my son that was dead, and is alive again. He was lost and is found, and they began to be merry. Now his elder son was in the field, and as he came and drew nigh to the house, and heard music and dancing, he called one of the servants and asked what these things meant. And he said unto him, Thy brother is come, and thy father hath killed the fatted calf, because he hath received him safe and sound. And he was angry and would not go in. Therefore came his father out and entreated him. And he answering said to his father, Lo, these many years do I serve thee, neither transgress I at any time thy commandment, and yet thou never gavest me a kid, that I might make merry with my friends. But as soon as thy son was come, which has devoured thy living with harlots, and hast killed for him, thou hast killed for him the fatted calf. And he said unto him, Son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine. It was meet that we should make merry and be glad, for this thy brother was dead and is alive again, and was lost and is found.
Okay. So, go back.
Mikey, you're silly.
Cameron and Dad on. All right. So,
The computer camera doesn't work?
I don't know what's going on.
That's okay.
Okay, good. All right, so if we go back to the beginning of chapter 15, we see the Pharisees and the scribes doing the things that they always do, murmuring against Yeshua. Something I saw that I thought was interesting was this whole idea of verse 1. It says, Then draw near unto him all the publicans and sinners for to hear him. And the Pharisees and scribes murmured, saying, This man receives sinners and eats with them. Now, when the Pharisees and the scribes are referring to the sinners, it's not as if they're excluding the publicans. It's inclusive. They're including them all together. They're kind of groups together for whatever reason. The tax collectors, the publicans, were, you know, it was just as bad being with a publican or a tax collector as with a sinner in the eyes of Pharisees. So when we look at these tax collectors, these publicans, and that word telones in the Greek, it's interesting how they describe this: a renter or farmer of taxes. A farmer of taxes. When you think about tax, don't do that. Taxes, it don't seem like it's something that can be farmed. Right? You think about farming, it's like, you know, you plant seeds and you go out and pick it and grow it. But the way they're referring to this occupation, a farmer, so it's defined a farmer of taxes.
A farmer of taxes is a tax gatherer.
Right. But I'm saying the actual word farmer is being used. Going and gathering up these things. So they would take these monies, they would collect these various taxes, you know, for the nation that was ruling over them, which was at the time Rome. And these tax collectors, apparently, there wasn't a such thing necessarily as a righteous tax collector. It seems as if the job in and of itself just had built-in
wickedness.
Yeah, just a very the nature of the job was something that was just against the people.
Because I mean, looking at taxes, like, you know, we know we got laws against like usury and all that.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, and that
gathering for Caesar.
Yeah,
so, Exodus 22:25. If you lend money to any of my people that is poor by thee, thou shalt not be to him as a user, neither shalt thou lay upon him usury, or, you know, like interest. When we think about taxes, it's interesting how, you know, we have, you know, we pay taxes here, right? And
We pay
a lot of taxes.
And
we don't even think about it, because every time we get a store, we pay tax. They take the tax out of our check.
yeah, it's all over.
Pay
the
property
place. But I was gonna say, in terms of the government, right? The government will take your taxes out.
First.
And say you get the money that you give them. Say you get it all back, right? But in the meanwhile, they made interest off it, so they making money off it. It ain't as if they're just. So you can't just say it's just not they just holding it for me. They're gonna give it back to me later.
Right.
They made
money off of your money that you could have been making off of your money.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, you're absolutely right. The thought process of, and it didn't matter with these people. It didn't matter. At least, I mean, we have a different kind of a system here, I'm sure, than what they were dealing with. But the thing about these publicans is that, like, say you was an Israelite publican, right? You would be the one that go to your neighbor's house and, you know, and collect that money that they, you know, had or didn't have, or had to do whatever they had to do in order to get it.
Yeah.
In their little place where their little modest abode where they were staying at. And then they just had to look just right across the way at you, the publican, who had this nice you know, a
Yeah.
nicer
Laid out.
place
Yeah.
that was right next to you. So it's kind of like they created kind of this animosity kind of a thing where they got these people who are sitting up there working for the man, and they're just right over there, and you can see what they got, and they ain't doing nothing but going around taking it. It's not like they have a skill, right? Their skill is just going around collecting money,
Wow.
but they're profiting over there. So besides the fact that most of them were taking more than what they were supposed to take, you still have this idea of this person who's kind of contributing or participating in your oppression. He's just right over there. And you can see him over there.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And they talk about the idea of these publicans being kind of they call them of the equestrian class, because regular people, they wasn't sitting around riding around on horses.
Right. Okay.
But these publicans, they would have these horses and ride around on their high horses. Is this kind of like a status symbol to be able to ride around on your own horse and collect this money. So all these things kind of built in with this hatred that was had for these people. So I was kind of just looking at the idea. Why was it this thing that was just so, like, when you look at some of these here, let me just see. The publicans were hated as the instruments by which the subjection of the Jews to the Roman emperor were perpetuated. And the paying of tribute was regarded as a virtual acknowledgement of his sovereignty. So it's almost as if this whole idea of paying this tribute to Rome was almost looked at as idolatry. Just the act in and of itself is of these taxes. They were also noted that their extortion, to which they were perhaps more especially prompted by having a share in the farm of the tribute, as they were thus tempted to oppress the people with illegal exactions, that they might the more speedily enrich themselves. So
it was cheating.
Right.
People out of money.
Theocratus, this ancient Greek person, considered the bear and the lion the most cruel among the beasts of the wilderness, and among the beasts of the city, the publican and the parasite. Okay, so again, when we look at the atmosphere around this thing, then now you see Yeshua, who he is, and every time you turn around, he got all of these publicans around him and sinners, as it says. Again, we look at the very idea of a publican is against Torah, right? Because Torah wasn't about taking from the poor, which was about giving to the poor.
Right.
We look at Leviticus 19:10, which says, "And thou shalt not glean thy vineyard, neither shalt thou gather every grape of the vineyard. Thou shalt leave them for the poor and the stranger." Right, so there's laws built in to Torah for the poor, but here, with this in this Roman society with these tax gatherers, these tax farmers. It was kind of the opposite, right?
So why would they even want to be around him?
Well, that's the thing. So you have Yeshua, who of course was this one who was calling men to repentance. So with Yeshua, he's not necessarily dealing with you in terms of what your reputation is. Right? What your reputation is really irrelevant. Who you're, what you're known for in terms of, Yeshua's not dealing with, what you're known for. He's dealing with bringing you into righteousness, right? So you got these Pharisees, you got these religious people who's looking and seeing, and they know so and so, he's a publican. They know what's her name, that she's a harlot, right?
These are people that they willing to throw away.
And then there's Yeshua sitting right over there in the middle of them. And then he rolled with Matthew, who was a publican himself. And then so he had all of his publican buddies. You know what I mean? And they all chilling together. Let's see. If you looked over at Matthew chapter 9. Matthew chapter 9. Matthew 9. Nine, 10 through 13. What else?
Matthew 9, verse 10. It says, "And it came to pass, as Yeshua sat at the meat house, behold, many publicans and sinners came and sat down with him and his disciples. And when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto his disciples, Why eateth your master with publicans and sinners? And Yeshua heard that, and he said unto them, that they that be whole need not a physician, but they that are sick. But go ye and learn what that meaneth. I will have mercy and will not sacrifice, for I am not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance."
Okay, very good. So over here we see the same situation where you have the Pharisees looking at Yeshua. He's hanging with these known sinners and publicans. And, Yeshua, again, he's not dealing with these people and their past and their reputations. He's dealing with the fact that these are the ones who he came for. These are the ones that he came to help and change.
Sick.
Right. The people that's he's not dealing with you if you right, if you good already, right? You don't need Yeshua. If you already righteous, what you need with Yeshua?
Pharisees felt like it was already good, so they didn't need them.
Right.
The scribes felt the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So he was with the people who felt like they needed him.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile,
they wasn't as
so when we think about this this concept, this idea of the Pharisees always looking at Yeshua and who he's with, it made me think about what is that? Let me see what the verse that is where it talks about something that Paul said. I think it's in 2 Corinthians 6:14.
2 Corinthians 6:14.
Mhm. What did I say?
2 Corinthians 6:14. It says, "Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship have righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion has light with darkness?"
So we look at what Paul's talking about over there to 2 Corinthians. How do we kind of view what we see with Yeshua, who is always going around with these people who is known for being sinners and publicans?
Because he's not necessarily like he's not going and collecting taxes with them or entering into their sin. He's actually trying to bring them out of this, or he's bringing them out of this. And it seems like they're coming to him, and he's not like, necessarily, going to them necessarily.
Well, what's the difference then? What's Paul over there talking about being unequally yoked together with unbelievers and fellowshipping with righteousness, fellowshipping with unrighteousness, and light communing with darkness? Isn't he communing with them if he's in there eating and stuff with them?
Well, he's showing them the truth. He's bringing them out of their darkness. He's not entering into their darkness with them. That's my guess.
You gotta go into your favorite scripture now.
What's my favorite one?
Where he's making things.
Oh, yeah. The altar. What?
I'm starting.
I know. When they come to him, then they get cleansed. It's not like they can defile him. Yes, thank you, Ebony, for reminding me of my favorite scripture. How did I not bring that up?
So what we trying to get to? What we trying to get to is, so you saying that what Paul's talking about don't apply to what Yeshua is known to be doing?
I'm saying no, that's not what he's doing.
What?
He's not making himself unequally yoked. He's changing people, not he's changing them. They're not changing him.
But at the same time,
so
isn't he?
Necessarily,
Oh, wait a second. I think you're going too far. At the same time as he's doing something, I feel like he's showing us something at the same time.
Okay, what's he showing us?
Well, he's showing us what he's doing.
Okay.
But that looks like the thing that Paul's saying that you're not supposed to be doing. The thing that Yeshua is doing and the thing that he's exemplifying for us looks like what Paul's saying we shouldn't.
Well, on the outside, I think on the outside, like when the Pharisees are seeing him, they're looking at it like he's sitting there eating with these people and going over to their houses, hanging out with the sinners.
Which he is.
Yeah. Yes, he is doing it.
He's with the publicans, he's with the sinners. Other places, he goes to the leper's house. He hangs out at the leper's house.
Yeah. So he is going and he's around all of these, the people that the society they're the fringe, on the fringes of the society. The sinners and the tax gatherers and the lepers and stuff.
And the harlots.
But he's not going there for the sake of hanging with them and fellowshipping with them. What the Pharisees don't see is that they're actually getting healed like the physician. It's like the physician's visit or whatever. They're getting healed of their illnesses. That's my response.
All right, so
I'm gonna keep responding if you don't want me to, but nobody
else is the same.
That's my response.
Well, I did want to add something that might work.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching this one teaching, and it was going into witchcraft, for example, and he was advising the people that he was teaching, saying, "You don't do this yourself because your foundation isn't strong enough to dabble into these things because it can pull you one way or the other because you're just not secure in what you know yet." But he was able to teach them the things because it's like, I'm able to show you both sides where this is what's wicked, and this is how we turn away from this stuff. So could it be that Yeshua has a stronger, solid foundation? He's able to go and commune with people where he wouldn't be influenced
I think
or
that's good.
turn where someone else who's weak in the faith, where they think that they're helping, but they're causing more harm to their own personal life.
There was a did you talk about Joshua? How Joshua, whenever he came down after he went up with Moses up to the top of the mountain, when he came down and the people was doing the golden calf thing, Joshua, got his tent was outside the camp with Moses. Him and Moses was camped outside of the thing. And then Moses would come back into the camp, but Joshua stayed out of the camp. He never came in. He stayed on the outside. So he couldn't actually fellowship with these crazy people because Joshua is probably just, too impressionable. But Moses, on the other hand, he was able to come back. Even though he maintained his distance from the people, he still came back and interacted with the people. So it's kind of like what Ebony was saying about one being weaker than the other and the other one being stronger. So Joshua was the weak, Moses was the strong. He was able to interact with people and not himself be changed.
Yeah, so maybe
Alright.
because we know when Paul speak, he was sent out to the Gentiles. He was in Corinth, and each letter kind of highlights things that they might have been having issues with. So that verse we just went over, be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers, for what fellowship have righteousness with unrighteousness, and communion has light with darkness. So continuing down, and what concord have Christ with Belial, and what part has he that believeth with the infidel? Verse 16, and what agreement had the temple of Yahweh or Elohim with idols? So it seems like they kind of was mixing the two together. They wasn't like standing on one, just on righteousness side or whatever. It seems like they was kind of mixing them. Like they might have had an issue with that. And when
I like that what you had just read, the agreement part. What agreement has it had?
Yeah, because can't agree with the wickedness. You got to be on one side or the other. And it's like when Yeshua was speaking to the people, he was just straight righteousness, and like you said, what if a person ain't sick? Why they need a physician? So he was the healer. So it was like he was trying to set them straight on the one path. And it seemed like even then, when Paul was sent out, he had the distinction that he seen that they were doing, that they wasn't taking the one side or going the one path of righteousness, or they was mixing stuff together or not. That's kind of how I see it looking at it.
I think that when we look at this, we can't look at one and say that it kind of cancels out the other. Sometimes we obviously can't look at what Paul's saying and say that cancels out what Yeshua is doing. I think that the key, we kind of touched on it, the various people, but I think the key words, I think, is what we have to kind of hone in on, in terms of, if you see me with some unrighteous people, it don't mean that I'm yoked to them, right? If you see me around some people, some questionable individuals, it don't mean that I've kind of like formed allegiances and covenants with these people,
right?
And I think that really, I would say, is the difference, because Yeshua is making it plain in terms of the fact that those are the ones that he came for, was the people that's the unrighteous. He came for the people that's sick. He came for the people who need to be healed. So unless he deal with them on some kind of level, how can his work be done? It can't be done. Right? So, but we look at some people will look at these things that Paul have to say and say, well, I can't be sitting around being with these, with these sketchy looking people. But those are the ones who need help the most.
Exactly. Right.
And that's the point that Yeshua is bringing out in terms of this whole idea of these lost sheep, this of the lost coin, and of the return of the frivolous son. So I think just the difference is just dealing with how tight of a bond is being created with these people. Right? Me going over to somebody's house and even just breaking bread with the person. You can't sit up there and you can't deal with people unless you form some kind of relationship with people. You can't be effective with people who don't really have no connection with you. So Yeshua, he would make that connection. He would be with these people, right? And he's changing the people. Now the difference is, right? So we all also have to think about the fact that we have to be able to always do what Yeshua would have for us to do. If he calling for us to be light, we have to be able to let that light so shine, right?
So how do we let this light shine if we're not?
If it's not on, if it's not, well,
right?
I'm saying
we're not available to the darkness.
Well, you got to be available to the darkness, but you can't be overtaken. You can't be overtaken by it. You got to overtake it. You got to be the overtaking force involved, right? Light overtakes darkness, right? We have received a marvelous light, it says, right? So I think what you were bringing up about Joshua, thinking about just having wisdom or knowing your own personal limitations, that's using wisdom. But at the end of the day, somebody got to go in there and deal with the people, right? Somebody got to do it. It might not necessarily be you, but somebody got to do it.
So, like, for example, if you're someone who, have problems with like drugs or whatever, it probably isn't in your benefit to go to like
no.
one of those
you're not
crack
the one
houses to go and try to get people off drugs or something like that. Because you'll see them.
Crack houses?
What they're doing, I don't know.
Yeah, but
Wait, what?
yeah.
I don't know. You got like
the trap house. They call that's what they call it these days.
What's crack trap now or something?
Yeah. Like if you have the issue, then maybe you shouldn't be you're not the one that can go and be in that environment and not get overtaken by the devil.
But you can't be like the Pharisees and the scribes,
who just
even if you know that you're not that one. You still have to understand that somebody got to be that one. So even if you know that you ain't the one, you can't look at the one who is the one and be sitting up there talking about, what you doing.
Right.
When I think about how people they don't like people who rap, like they do like rap for the scriptures or whatever. They think about it like it's the gangsters and all that stuff, but then they don't understand that there might be some like teenage kids or even grown people who like that kind of music, and it's like it speaks to them. You know what I mean? So and then even the they have all kinds of different things, but people get all held up. I'm just saying that's something that people get held up on now. Making things real to certain people that it wouldn't otherwise be real to. It might not be for you, but it's for them. And we can't sit up there and judge and be like, we can't judge things like that,
Right. Especially looking at the point that Yeshua is trying to make here in terms of finding the lost and dealing with the lost, dealing with those that are sick. If I know because of my personal weaknesses that I can't go and deal with certain things, I should at least be able to I should be able to help empower those that are able to go and do it. Right. Let's say I'm a reformed heroin addict. I can't be around them places or else I'm gonna get back into it.
Yeah.
I might not personally be able to go deal with those people, but I should be able to deal with the people who deals with the people.
Right.
I should be able to help the people that's going to help the people.
Right.
Because the point is that, the point that Yeshua is bringing out here is, is dealing with the lost sheep. It's something that these Pharisees and these scribes is not tapping into. He brings out, in verses 3 through 7, this idea of these lost sheep and calling verse 3. So he told them a parable saying, what man among you, if he has 100 sheep and has lost one of them, does he leave the 99 in the open pasture to go after the one which was lost until he finds it? Like you have a really intimate relationship with each one of these sheep of yours. It's not as if one goes away and you just like, oh, well, it's whatever. It's just.
No, it's just one of
I
them.
mean, you think about your kids, like, you know, I got 5 of them. If one go away, it's just not that big of a deal. I got these other ones over here.
I ain't never lied.
I got these other ones over here.
Got 4 more left, so we don't gotta go and get the other one.
So it's the same concept as he's giving with the sheep. He's gonna go out and find this one, you know, and look for these sheep. Verse 7, I tell you that in the same way, there will be more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous persons who need no repentance. And again, we think about repentance, we're thinking about reversal. We're thinking about changing of the mind. It's the same kind of concept that we see with teshuvah, the idea of returning, to turn back. He's giving you this idea of having these sheep. You have these sheep and then you lost one. So it's the idea of returning. The idea is of restoration, restoring back to the original state. When we think about the idea of restoration by way of repentance, you know, in regards to that which is lost, you know, we can think about mankind as a whole. You know, from the beginning, because of our separation from the Creator, because of sin, you know, it's necessary for mankind to be restored back to the Father. Yahweh wanted to create these people who would be able to commune with Him, he would be able to be in the midst of it. Right? And we see the picture of that with when we look back at the camping of Israel, where He wants to be in the midst of His people. But we're not talking just kind of like spatially in the midst, but literally in the midst in terms of being inside His people. Right? So He gave us the example. He gave us Israel to look at. He gave us Israel to look at how He wants to dwell in the midst of His people. Right? But when we look at Israel as a whole, it was a picture of how He wanted for us to be, just even as individuals, not us being a people who have a place where we could go to where we know that Yahweh is, and this happens to be in the center of where we're located at, but He wants to be able to dwell on the inside of us,
be in the center of us.
Be in the midst of us as individuals.
I was thinking about even when he describes His people as sheep in the he talks about how we're scattered and how He's going to gather us back together again, and just how He's going to go through all the mountains and search for His people and find them and bring them back.
Right, so when we look at these examples that He has, starting with the sheep, you're dealing with sheep, you're dealing with something that you had 100. One was gone, so you had 100. You had a group of sheep already. They was yours. You was His already.
The one was already.
And then you go, yeah, it used to be His. Then it went astray. And then it went away. He got lost, and then He went and found it. And then He brought it back all happy, like up on His shoulder. When we look at the lost coin, when you look at this, I was looking at one thing that was talking about these pieces of silver. This, according to this book I got here, which was this book here is from 61. So in 1961, this story was equivalent of $1.70. So imagine if you had $1.70 and then you lost 17 cents. But that's all the money that you had was $1.70.
That's a lot of money. $1.70.
Right, that's all you got. It's not that much money, right? I don't know what the equivalent is of $1.70 from 61 until 2018. I'll look that up.
Wait,
I have a coin book.
that's giving you the equivalent of what this was in the 15th
You don't know
verse?
what it is.
Or
Yeah. Yeah. The 10 pieces of silver, they're calling a drachma, which equal to a Roman denarius, which is 17 cents. So a denarius was equivalent to 17 cents in our money, but I'm saying that's according to 1961.
Here, I'll tell you now.
But they're not converting it to U.S. dollar.
Yeah.
Right? That's just,
Yeah.
but
So
before this time, it's the ancient Roman Empire. So
no, but what I'm saying is that this to them at 1961 and also back then was even not a lot of money. He was only dealing with one little coin.
yeah.
One little coin.
Mm-hmm.
One denarius. Did you get it yet?
$1 from back then.
No, $1.70 was the total.
Oh, so they're trying to relate it to if you lost that today, how much you would have lost back then. Like
Yeah. What does it equal out to? If somebody's telling you a story about something in denarius, it don't mean nothing to you.
Okay, tell me the amount of money.
$1.70.
$1.70
in 1961.
is about $14.06 now.
Okay, good. So what's a tenth?
Inflation is about 3.78%.
So a tenth of that is what?
So 14.06.
$1.40 or something.
Yeah, you're right. $1.41.
But that's all you got. So the point is, if all you got is $14, and then you lose $1.40 of the only money that you got, you're not gonna just be like, oh, well, whatever. I got these other
$13, $12.
You looking for that money?
Yeah, you looking.
When I can remember times when I'm trying to go to the store, I'm trying to get something, and I'm like a couple dollars or cents short, and I'm flipping over pillows and looking under things and counting pennies and everything else, searching for that thing that's lost.
Bus money. I remember bus money when I had to catch the bus, and if I didn't have, I would be sitting there like really looking for some change just so I could get on the bus. I remember that. That was some terrible times.
Right. Yeah.
I remember yesterday.
Hard,
like, no.
I'm trying to find that money. Oh man, Aldi quarter.
A quarter.
To get in the
I
Aldi.
want my quarter back.
I know.
Because that's an Aldi quarter.
That's an
in
Aldi
my
quarter.
car. Yeah.
Every time I go to Aldi's, I make a quarter. Every time I go, I make a quarter.
Most people give you their card.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they do.
I made a quarter. Right?
But listen, one time, Usually people say, "Oh, don't worry about it," but I did see some people like, "You gonna exchange this? Like, you got my quarter."
Like here you go. All right.
I was like,
I'll be making a quarter when I go.
he said he makes a quarter every time.
But the point is that
Oh,
that person is looking for that piece,
quarter, man.
looking for that one piece.
Yeah.
You got does not light a candle and sweep the house and seek diligently till she finds it. Looking all over the place.
You move the dirt, you find you cleaning up.
Just to find that little piece.
Yeah.
And once you found it, she done called her friends and neighbors together so that they can all rejoice about that little piece of silver that was lost. But that piece of silver that's lost is that
You can go ahead and try to
that tax farmer.
Mhm.
That little piece of coin is that sinner, is that harlot, right? That's that one.
Wow.
You looking all over for these little harlots and these publicans. What could be like the equivalent of a publican today? Do we got any such things?
I mean, if the IRS is really trying to come after you, they really are a Republican. If you're
I don't know if it's exactly.
police, the police is a Republican nowadays. I think the police is a good Republican.
Wait, you said it was someone who was collecting money and was taking more off the top?
They're taking some off the top. Yeah.
They mostly did do that.
They profited off of their tax gathering.
I mean, when you think about the relationship that we got with police these days,
I think the police is a good public.
They find you for these infractions.
Stop, Hisky.
I mean, but
I'm saying they're the government officials that
They
that
abuse
you-
their power.
that have these powers that they're given from the government, that a large group of these people are using their powers for evil.
yeah, and they're upholding it and letting it enforcing.
Yeah.
If you talk to a certain demographic of people, the same way that these people looked at publicans is how people will look at the police in 2018.
Yeah,
Or they're just some detestable.
that's true. You got people like you over there talking to them cops. I don't trust you, Yeah. Like what you here for? You talking to the cops? You know what I mean? You work for them. Think you undercover or something? Yeah, like you undercover.
Yeah. Okay, so we get down to verse 11, where it goes into the man who had two sons. Right, and goes through the whole thing with something I just was thinking about as you was reading it. Verse 14, where it says 14, 15, 16, and when he had spent all, the frivolous son spent all that he had, there arose a mighty famine in the land, and he had began to be in want. And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he had sent him into the fields to feed the swine. So he got this job working for this guy where he's a pig feeder. And he would fain have filled his belly with the husk that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. I mean, it just seems like he's just in a terrible place.
Yeah.
Where he's supposed to be out here feeding the pigs, but he's so hungry that he's sitting up here eating the pig food. Like,
Ooh, disgusting. The most disgusting thing I've ever been in my life.
Pisky, hand me that little Bible right there. Nah, the other one. I want to see this what this New American Standard says. He would have gladly filled his stomach with the pods that the swine were eating, and no one was giving anything to him. So he's just out there happy with just eating the swine food. And he's good with it. But it caused me to think about, it really did cause me to think about Israel and, having the curses on Israel as to where they're in this place as a result of not managing their inheritance properly, right? Yahweh gave the law, statutes, and commandments to his people as an inheritance. Mm-hmm. They wasn't managing their inheritance properly. They wasn't even keeping it. Mm-hmm. Right? So they get into this place, in this position, in this situation. That's a terrible situation. And from the outside looking in, you're looking at it as this detestable situation. But inside of it, fine. Inside of the situation, the people are not even that. It's not even that serious.
Yeah.
They're fine.
They don't see that it can be better. Or
yeah.
It's just normal.
Like me looking at it, it looked like you sitting up there eating pig food and you're happy with it. And outside of the situation, when I'm looking at it, it's a terrible situation. But here, when we look at the frivolous son who was in this bad situation, he don't see no problem with eating the husks that the pigs ate. If you give pigs the stuff that none of the other animals don't eat.
They eat the leftover slop.
He's fine with eating it.
Well, it did say that a famine came in, and it sounded like he because of his actions. Because I feel like he still acknowledged. Let me see here. Let me read it.
He had a change of heart, but this verse 16 wasn't the change of heart. This is him in the middle of his mess, literally. Well, when he changed his mind, then he went back home, right?
Yeah.
But here, I'm saying here in the midst of it, he's in a bad way. He's in a terrible way.
Yeah.
There was a famine where he was, but back where it was supposed to be at, they was fine over there.
Right.
I think about
this look like Israel to me.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking about. If we was able to get back where we should be, we could be 15, we would be a kingdom 16. Of kings up here groping around like in the darkness.
Groping at noonday. And being fine with it.
I mean, I talk to people sometimes and they're fine with their iniquity. They don't care. They'd rather have their iniquity than righteous people. I know, like mostly anyone you talk to, it's like, what I gotta do? No, I'd rather do what I want to do. I just want to do what I want to do.
All that. It's just too much for me.
I mean, people tell me they believe they're Israel, but they don't want to do all these commands. It's just too much. Like, It's just too much worwork.
See, this is what I mean. When I look at this in the New American Standard, it's way different than the King James. Because this just says, verse 16, he would gladly fill. He would have gladly filled his stomach with the pods that the swine were eating.
Yeah.
He would gladly do that.
My verse says here to be satisfied. He would be satisfied with it.
I'm saying that. When I look at that, listen, just as you was reading it, it just caused me to just think about the state of Israel. It's weird. The people are just satisfied with pig feet.
We literally are satisfied with pig feet.
All the above.
The chitlins and the, you know what I mean? The slave food.
That is disgusting.
We would gladly satisfy ourselves with that over some kosher stuff.
All the abominations.
All the
But
abominations.
even with all the knowledge too of today, like it's scientifically proven to not put that in your body.
They don't care.
You know,
They want it.
like it tastes good.
And then verse 7.
You never had it. It actually.
I wasn't saying it tastes okay.
I mean, no. I think there's something to be said about like bacon, because people they don't want to give it up because they like it so much.
Yeah.
You know, turkey bacon doesn't compare to pork bacon.
Oh,
That's what they say.
Or
When I worked in the restaurants,
I think pepperoni.
and I used to have to cook massive amounts of bacon. To me, somebody who never ate bacon, it always had it didn't.
But see, for
I was somebody
somebody
who never
who,
ate bacon though.
my last pork was bacon.
Wait, you said it has a smell?
He said it.
To me, it
Okay,
is.
yeah.
I didn't
My literal last pork that I willfully ate
that was a sinful act that you did.
was I willfully ate my last pork. I did.
That was a sinful act that you
She
did.
said goodbye.
I was bidding farewell to it. I recognized that I
That
had
was a
to
sinful act.
change
you
my.
I think I did that too.
I
I don't know. I
think
think it
almost
was.
everyone
I think it was
I
like
talked to-
maybe pizza or something.
And yes, the
Pepperoni.
pepperoni.
Yeah,
the
they was
sauce.
like, I was like, hey, this gonna be my last pizza. I'm doing this. I'm really doing it.
That's how I was like too. I had my
I ain't
bacon
gonna lie.
cheeseburger. I had a bacon cheeseburger and a cup of clam chowder. And that's what I and I don't even eat. I
Oh,
don't even-
clam chowder too.
I don't. Yes.
She already on me and started about it.
She
She
said she
said,
I'm
"I'm
a
good."
buffet.
A
My
buffet.
last buffet.
I had my last pork, and I literally that was my last pork. And I'm telling you, there is something to be said about pork bacon compared to turkey bacon. Pork bacon, I'm not gonna sit up here and embarrass myself by talking about how good it is.
It's too late.
Oh,
But all I'm saying is that was my last pork. And all I'm saying is that people literally can't get rid of pork and shellfish and all that stuff. It's something they just can't, they don't want to get rid of it. They would rather be in disobedience, be in sin,
Yep.
than to change and come around and convert. Like they don't want to do it.
You changed one more. Though. You didn't change none.
I just had my one last. You don't have to worry about having your one last because you was born
I mean,
in it.
born.
But I wasn't
but when
born
you
in
think
it.
about it, though.
I wasn't
I'm somebody
born
who
in
was like, I love going to the brothel. And then I find out that this is actually a sinful act.
That's
And I realize that it is sinful. I know full-heartedly that it's wrong. But I'm gonna go ahead one last time and hit the brothel.
Live it up. It's for the road. It's for the road.
One for the road.
It is simple. I agree.
I love that.
I agree.
I'm not going. Look, no. I think
Cold
the
turkey.
best way is to do it cold turkey.
That's the only.
You always bring up the
Stop.
example. He always talk about somebody who's like a murderer.
Yeah. Let me just go kill one more guy.
Yeah, because they weigh all this.
Let me just take
all the
one more
sins.
person out real quick, and then I'm sorry after that.
No. I'm not gonna try to defend my last pork, but I'm just saying that that's something that's hard to overcome. Is all I'm saying. People would rather eat this pig slop than eat kosher food and walk in righteousness. They'd rather live in that and be in darkness and be, having all these issues and all these problems and stuff.
Today is different too, because
Like you're hypnotized.
in this story, the son knew he came from. Granted, us as a nation we did, but it's like today, you born into this craziness with none of our culture around us.
Yeah.
You got to seek this out, or somebody got to present it to you.
Yeah.
This dude,
he came from it. He was taught it.
and I think even much more when Yeshua was doing what he was doing, you got to seek the people out. Now it's more important than ever to actually seek people out with the condition that we in, because back then they knew. And he came back. He went out, got lost, and was able to get his way back. I feel like today
I think that the thing that makes it similar is the fact that at some point, whether it's something that you knew, went away from, and then come back to, or something that you never knew, and be enlightened to a situation, and it's still a return though, right?
Yeah.
When you look at 17, where it says, and when he had came to himself, he said, how many hired servants of my father's have bread enough and to spare, and I perish with hunger? He had a realization. A realization came. Now, you're right. Now we're dealing with people who don't know. They never knew. And they have to be shown for the first time. But at the same time, it's still a realization that has to come, whether it's a remembering of something that you already know, or it's a revelation of something that you never knew before. It's still that kind of aha moment.
So it's already in you. It's in you, but
it needs to be stimulated.
Yeah. Like the scripture, I forget what scripture we're talking about, bringing things back to our remembrance.
Right.
For we once knew these things, these things was once in us. Yeah.
Right. So now when we look at this story, and we have this the way that the son that never leaves, he's feeling a certain kind of way, like you sitting up here doing all this for this guy, and you ain't never did nothing like that for me.
Yeah. At a party.
I know you ain't never killed the calf. You never killed the fatty calf for me. But you was never doing it for him. And he went out there and wasted all of his I guess I don't know who if we're gonna assign roles to the different ones. Who do we assign as this jealous elder son? We can look and see, at Israel, disobedient Israel who goes out and squanders the inheritance. But what of this elder son who's looking and is mad basically at the reception of the squandered the son that squandered his inheritance.
When you say role, like
Like we can look at the father and just relate it to the Most High.
oh, okay, I see.
And we can look at the son that went away, and we can see that he looks like Israel. But then you have this elder son who never left.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, what does he look like? If any, it might not even be applicable.
Yeah, I don't know.
I want to say he looks like how we look right now. We already in, and these are people that's coming from off the streets. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Or people who just never left.
I mean, I guess
The remnant.
I guess when you think about the way people are, when you have people who kind of live in their little religious bubbles, I guess they could be equated to these people, who, already righteous. They're already on the right side of things, where their whole life focus really is just only about maintaining their position. Where I think the thing about when you think about all these stories together, the thing that is showing us really that we need to be more like the lady and the shepherd in terms of that lost one. Even with the way that the father was always there waiting for the son to come back. But I think with coupling it with the lady and the shepherd, he should have went out and looked for the son. He should have went out and brought the son back.
You think the father could have went out and got him?
I'm saying coupling it with the lady who lost the coin and the shepherd. He could have left the son behind that wasn't going nowhere and go and find the one that was lost. Right? The lady who lost the coin, she looked all over the place for that thing. She didn't just wait for it to show up. She actively looked for it, right? When we think about, what is that, Ezekiel 34 or something, where it talks about the shepherd and the sheep, where they actually seeking and searching for the sheep.
He said in verse 34, verse 16, I will seek the lost, bring back the scattered, bind up the broken, and strengthen the sick. But the fat and strong I will destroy. I will feed them with judgment.
But how in 15 did Luke 15 did the father I know? It said let's see.
He counted him as being dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
You was dead, now you're alive again. So he basically gave up on him. You said verse 15 says what? And he went and joined himself to his. You said verse 15?
No. I was saying back in chapter 15.
Oh, chapter 15.
When he said, in not many days After the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. Like, I don't know. I guess I'm just wondering, like, if he told his father where he was going.
Oh no, he just bounced. He just was ahead. He just went out. It was like, let me get my inheritance now, and I'm out.
For a second, if he gonna do that, why you gonna chase him? That's like your son today, he acting crazy, and you give him a little inheritance, and he go out in the world. I mean, you might look after him, like, but you gonna run to the next state chasing them, or
I'm saying now, but here it don't seem like it. Just when you think about it, don't seem like you would do that. He crazy. He out there doing whatever he's doing.
Uh-huh.
But when you think about what the story that's being told here, he's referring back to us, right, where he sends the spirit out. Right, when you think about the valley of the dry bones, the prophet sends the spirit word out to the valley to awaken the dry bones. When we think about the idea of Yahweh regathering in his people from the four corners of the earth, by sending out his spirit, by sending out his spirit-filled people, that's the father going out and looking for the coin, and the shepherd going out looking for that one sheep. Yeah. So from a practical perspective, from a now perspective, when you think about it, you're like, well, that's his fault. What you go out there and spend it all for? That's all you might think about it.
Yeah.
But that's not how the Most High is thinking about it. He's putting people in our path, right? He's reaching out and touching us where we are and bringing us back to himself.
Now, okay. Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Now, if someone comes or whatever, and they're like, yeah, I need you to hold me accountable for, keeping the Shabbat or whatever. If I don't show up, should you go out and leave notes on their cars if they don't pick up their phone? Leave a note on their car, or put a note on their house, or blow up their phone or something if they just they don't actually want to do it.
Me personally?
Yeah.
Probably not.
I know you wouldn't do something like that. I know you wouldn't be like a what's the word? Stalker. Well, I mean, it's kind of stalking someone down. We know people who actually do that type of stuff. Go and be going to their house.
I mean, to me,
and leaving notes on their cars and putting stuff on their houses and stuff.
I mean, to an extent, yeah, I might check up on you, call you, but I can't care more about this life as it regards to you more than you did. If it's one thing to deal with somebody who wants to move forward, but I can't carry you.
You can't go and bring somebody, put them on your back.
I can hold your hand. I'll hold your hand and come with you.
Now you supposed to put that sheep on your back.
But I can't.
You don't think the shepherd went and put the sheep on his shoulder and was like, all right, let's go.
know.
It's such a fine line because
I think it is a fine line.
Because sometimes, you know, people will want you to be there. It's like they want you to be the Holy Spirit, kind of like pushing, you know, like, no, you can do it, come on. And then if you're not there for whatever reason, then it's like they're just gonna go and just do whatever they want to do. And it's kind of like they want you to be the skeleton and the muscles and the strength behind them. You know what I mean? And I'm just thinking about when we're dealing with people who are coming, you know, back, restoring them, the sinners and the publicans and the police or whoever else, and we're bringing them back in.
I ain't bringing no police.
I know we're bringing them back. I know, because it's just like the publican, right? I don't want to deal with them people, but you know, we're bringing them back in. Like, how do we look in doing that? You know what I mean? That's kind of where I'm going. Like, are we actually pulling and pushing and picking up and bringing, or is that ruach, that spirit that's supposed to be inside of them?
I think in regards to the people who have the ability to have a response to something.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're dealing with a sheep, right? The sheep is just gonna go where you take it.
Mm-hmm.
The sheep is just gonna go where if you leave a door open, the sheep is gonna go through the opening.
Mm-hmm.
A coin is this inanimate object where you put it somewhere. It is wherever you put it at. You just forgot where you put it. But this individual, going back to verse 17 again, there's a realization that happened on the inside of the son that caused the son to wake up and realize that what was going on didn't make any sense.
He becomes conscious of what's
Yes. So there's an awakening that happens. So what I'm saying is that it seems that what we are called to do is to instigate or initiate the awakening.
Then they will return on their own.
But
then they have to return.
And you can follow me. I'll take you down this way. Just go this way, the way I'm going. But
it'll be their choice because they become awake.
Right.
Well, like you say, you plant the seed and it's him that water it.
Yeah. Right.
And all that. So yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just because it's so hard to make this distinction of when you need to kind of back off and let the ruach do the work in the person that you're trying to, bring along.
I don't see Yeshua walk around begging people.
He was turning some people away.
Or he was saying stuff intentionally that he knew they were going to leave. But he wasn't begging them. He wasn't begging people to follow
please,
him.
Please repent, man.
I'm begging you.
He's telling them they fade if they didn't.
This is what's gonna happen.
What's that?
It's really sad though that it's almost like sometimes it is like begging people to repent. It's like, please do this for your own good. We have all these curses upon us. All we need to do is repent and return. And they're like, I don't care. I like my sin. I like what I'm doing. I like where I'm at.
They in these three verses
back
over here. They eating that pig food.
I mean, I think that it takes someone who's really searching. Like, I think these publicans that was with Yeshua, and sinners, they really was searching for something different. They didn't want to keep being in there. And if when it came to the Pharisees, all the Pharisees would do was throw it in their face, like, well, you're a tax collector. What are you coming to me for? I think also something that people do is they try to throw your sin up against you. Like they try to make like when people come and they repent from being a publican or whatever, they're no longer a publican anymore. So you can't keep on throwing that back in their face. Like, you used to be a publican. So how are you able to be righteous?
That's what they did.
You used to be a harlot, so you surely can't be righteous. But
Yahweh can forgive everybody.
Oh, he can forgive, yeah. You repent.
Okay, so that being said, anybody else have any thoughts or comments or questions about Luke 15?
Priest can't.
I just think that just how the son was the son that was already there was had this attitude. That's how the Pharisees and the scribes had an attitude. They just had this attitude about these people.
So he would have been the righteous one. Them doing righteousness all the time. And then here come old Junior coming around and you want to sit up here and kill the fatted calf. All right. So
That's interesting.
we have to have the heart and the mind to be about the lost sheep, to be about that lost coin, to be about that lost, that dead son. Bring them all back to life. Okay, so if that being said, so we'll be done talking about this.